My fiancé cheated on me with my father. Me, 27 meters. My fiancé 26F. Let's call her Laura. My father 52 meters. Let's call him Ben. And my mother 50F. Let's call her Rachel. Like many who've had something like this happen, I never thought it would happen to me, but here we are. I've never used Reddit, but I've seen stories from here on TikTok, so I thought I'd give this a shot for any advice you all could give me. From listening to some other stories, you all like backstory. I'll try to be as clear and precise as I can, but it's only been a week, so if I start to lose it during the telling of this, I'm sorry. Laura and I met in her freshman year of college. We were both dorming in the same building where we eventually met. We later found out we lived 2 towns away from each other, so whenever we went home, I let her drive with me. It only added like 20 minutes, so it was no big deal. After multiple trips and hanging out at school, we started to date. I have a close-knit family, as did she, so we told our families right away. I had met hers plenty of times when dropping her off, but it was nothing more than an introduction and exchanging pleasantries. Both of our families accepted each other with open arms, and our relationship grew. I was a year ahead of her, so when I graduated, I went home where I was offered a good job with great pay. I visited her at school whenever I got the chance, and whenever she came home, we would make time for each other. After she graduated, she moved in with me as both of our jobs were in the city near where we grew up. Like me, she was offered a position at the company she works at now with great pay. After living together for about 3 years, I proposed, and we have been planning our wedding since. Now, on to the part you're all reading for. Looking back, there were plenty of things I overlooked that I just wrote off, thinking Ben was just trying to welcome my ex into our family. Things like Ben calling her all the time, and if I was around, they would just tell me they were talking about the upcoming family party or something along those lines. One time, Laura was in the shower, and her phone rang. I saw it was Ben, so I answered. My fiancé cheated on me with my father. When he realized it was me, he sounded both upset and surprised. I then asked what's up. He responded that he wanted to talk to Laura about Rachel's birthday that was in a week, and after a minute, we ended the call. Even typing this out now, I feel like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. On the day I found out, it was like any other day. Laura had Thursdays off, so she made breakfast for both of us. When I set out for work, she gave me a kiss and told me to have a great day. During my drive to work, I realized I had forgotten some paperwork I would need for a meeting I had at 3 p.m. I shrugged it off and told myself I would just go home at lunch to get it. Laura texted me throughout the day, talking about all the casual stuff a couple talks about, like what do you want for dinner, I did the laundry, do you want me to hang it up for you, blah blah blah. I didn't think it necessary to text her I was coming home for lunch, so when it came around, I just left work and went home. When I got home, I noticed a car that looked like Ben's in our parking lot, but I didn't think anything of it and just parked and went into our building. When I opened the door, I was met with a scene out of a movie where a man comes home early and catches his spouse cheating. Such a cliché. There was a trail of clothes, both his and hers, leading to my bedroom, and the sound of faint moans echoed through my apartment. I stood at the door in utter shock. My brain was a mix of rage, sadness, and disgust, but if you were a fly on my wall, you would see what looked like a statue. I just couldn't move. When I finally snapped to, not knowing how much time had passed, I took out my phone to record. I picked up all the clothes that were on the floor and threw them into the hall of the building. After, I filmed the walk to my bedroom. The door was open. I stood in the doorway filming for about a minute, then flipped on the lights. They both jumped at the sudden light and looked at me, and to my utter shock, it was Ben in the bed with her. After the initial stun, Ben noticed I was recording and started to panic, trying to find anything to cover himself and telling me to stop recording. He found a towel and wrapped it around himself and started to walk toward me. I told him if you don't want to get hurt, stop coming toward me. My fiancé cheated on me with my father. He either didn't care or didn't hear me and reached for my phone. I hit him square on the jaw. His head bounced off the door and slumped to the ground. Laura shrieked. I aimed the camera at Laura and said, "Concerned about your fuck buddy but nothing to say to your fiancé?" Ben woke up after about a minute nap, and I told them I just needed to come pick something up for work, so I'm heading back now. If either of you pieces of shit are here when I get back, I'll send this video to everyone you know. I ended the video, looked at Ben, who was still coming to, and said, "You're dead to me, you're no longer my father, but you might want to go home and talk to Rachel because I'll be talking to her very soon." I sat in my car for a while until one of the bosses at work called to ask where I was. I told her I was on my way back right now. When I got to her office to hand her the paperwork, I must have looked awful because she started asking what was wrong with me. I told her it was nothing, and I'd be okay. I could see her scanning me up and down, and she noticed some blood on my collar and stood up, rushed to me, and said, "You're bleeding." I looked down and said it was Ben's. She looked confused, so I pulled out my phone and showed her the video. She watched it in its entirety. She was introduced to Laura a few times but never Ben. She sat there silent for a moment until it finally clicked that my fiancé was cheating on me, but not only was she cheating, it was with my father. She asked if there was anything she could do, suggesting I take some time off, but I told her I can't go back there right now. That I just need a minute, and I'd be fine for the meeting, and I have another shirt in my office. The meeting went over fine. I put on a smile for everyone like nothing had happened. My boss came up to me after the meeting and asked how I could do that, but I just said I don't know and went to my office. I then came home, and I was alone for the first time in a very long time. Thank you for reading. I'm sorry I carried on so much, but it was therapeutic getting everything down. I just don't know what to do. I defiantly need to get the hell out of this apartment. I just can't live here anymore, and there's no possible way I'm sleeping in that bed. I know not only do I have to go get checked out for STDs, but I think I broke something in my hand.